Hi everyone, this is Venus Brown. We're going to be watching House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 3, and doing a reaction and discussion afterwards.
Fuck you, betrayer! Fuck your mother and bastard father! No! No!
Hear what he looks like under that mask. You know that means he's gonna end up burning you alive.
I don't think he much cares.
I mean, he probably figures burning to death is better than being eaten alive by crabs. At least that was quick. That would be a good way to do it.
Were he to intervene now after so long, it would make the crown appear weak.
Can someone tell me where in the seven hells Rhaenyra might be? Under the dragon's eye. Under the dragon's eye.
It's like, I ain't got time for this shit.
Perhaps the princess might like to hear something else.
She would not. Play it again.
She fled with her ships and her people, her heart broken for those. Your Grace.
Did I say to stop? You may go, Samuel. You are to stay by order of the princess. The queen commands you to leave the Godswood at once.
Oh, God.
It's like, Princess.
He's like, please don't pull me into your games.
The king wishes for you to join us.
The king has much to celebrate. He does not need me.
He wants for us all to be together.
Yeah, she probably feels like you stabbed her
Well,
in the
isn't this
back.
splendid? The whole of our family off to celebration and adventure in the King's Wood.
Should you be travelling in such condition? The maester said that being out in nature would do me well.
Well, you will be with your own child sooner than later, and make me a proud grandsire.
It's not so bad. The days are long, but Aegon came quickly and without fuss.
Yeah, they don't always do that.
I wouldn't know. I've not spoken to Damon in years. Since you supplanted him as heir.
Damon made his choices, Lady Kira. The princess was more suited to the role.
He's made a mess and the king must put an end to it. Send fleets and men and clear out the triarchy for good.
But the crown is not at war.
The crown is at war, princess. Though your father refuses to admit it, we've been dragged into it by your uncle and the sea snake.
And how have you served them with late lady red wine by eating cake?
No, that's her dog.
So pleasant to be around.
She's so funny.
You feel sidelined and useless.
Yeah, but she gets
I'm
treated
one
like
of
this
Princess.
pretty much all the time.
Is your own second name? I don't have a dragon pit, of course, but I do have the means and resources to build one.
Why would you need a dragon pit?
To house dragons, of course. I'd do anything for my queen. Or lady wife.
Yeah.
She's like, I'd much rather punch you.
Don't think she's
Thank you for the wine.
interested in you that way.
Except that one weird creep.
Well, he's definitely there to see her. He is
Yep.
after all.
Even he knows his wife.
I don't think she gives a rat's ass
that what
about
I am to you?
Lannisters.
A prize to proffer about to the great houses. She's arrogant and self-serious.
I thought you might have that in common. Since you came of age, I've been slowly drowning in a lake of parchment flung from every corner of the realm. Marriage proposals all. And I have tried, often, to discuss it with you. But you've refused me at every turn.
That is because I do not wish to get married.
Even I do not exist above tradition and duty, Rhaenyra.
Excuse me, Your Grace.
You might want to hold your yelling matches away from everybody.
There is a time and there is a place.
You must marry.
This is neither.
I think they either aged him a little too much for 3 years or whatever it was supposed to have been, or they're just saying that this life is making him age much faster.
Princess, wait!
It says trying. It will happen. There's no trying about it.
Princess, slow down!
What happened back there?
My father trying to sell me off to Jason Lannister. Was I named heir to the Iron Throne so that I might only further raise the standing of a Lord of Castle Rock?
You want me to kill him? We should return to camp, Princess.
It's a beautiful day. We should take in the Kingslet.
Many in the realm would gladly trade positions with you, Princess.
Because they don't really know any better.
Only because none of them has ever held my position. Maybe the Princess of Dragonstone, but I'm toothless.
One day, not so long ago, you held enough power to write my name into the White Book. And when your father named me to his King's Guard, it was the highest honor any Cole had ever known. All that I have, I owe to you. No, I'd hardly call that toothless, Princess.
Yeah, you could have teeth if you positioned yourself in a way that worked well for it. They may still not take you seriously enough to put you on as queen, but you could have teeth.
I would be honored to take the Princess Rhaenyra to wife, Your Grace.
I don't think she would
But I
take
offer you the crown and your daughter is strength.
Do you think that House Targaryen wants for strength?
If someone offered you more dragons, would you not take them?
Do you have dragons to offer?
Castle Rock is a splendid seat. Rhaenyra may take her place there by my side without shame and feel herself well compensated for her loss in station.
What loss of station?
If you were to name young Aegon heir, Your Grace.
And when would I be doing that?
I had assumed, as he is your firstborn son, many of us had assumed...
Many of us, you say? Have your bannermen questioned my choice of heir?
Of course not, Your Grace.
It is your sworn duty to report rebellion stirring in my kingdom.
Rebellion? There has been nothing of the sort, Your Grace. I
did
only...
not decide to name Rhaenyra my heir on a whim. All the lords of the kingdom do well to remember that.
Someone's angry.
Thank you for the gift.
Yeah, you might have wanted to, I don't know.
Your Grace.
Like really instill this in your kingdom. That this is my heir. I have no intention of changing that, and actually give her positions that show that she's worthy of being heir.
There is another choice beyond Castle Rock.
One perhaps
you might be more comfortable with one closer to home.
Who do you have in mind?
Prince Aegon.
That is just gross.
No, absolutely not.
The boy just turned 2 on her.
Yes, but it would cease the endless proposals for Rhaenyra's hand. Betrothed them.
I came here to hunt. Not to be suffocated by all this fucking politicking.
Let us speak no more of it.
I want to betroth the 2-year-old.
You crazy people.
What a birthday present.
Happy birthday. You have to marry your sister.
You have no idea what's going on, but say hi to your fiancée sister.
It's not well.
You can't even do the wine.
Maybe a lot of what's his face died in the original Game of Thrones. The Fat King.
Right. Well, they
We've sent
said in the
outriders
books
to
that he
find
got
Rhaenyra,
like
Your Grace. Sir Kristen
fat
went
and
after her, so the
soft
hope is that they
and
are
stuff
together.
like that
The girl is a heedless
after just a
contrarian.
few years.
If I instead forbade her to wed a Lannister, she would have run off with Lord Jason out of spite. A truly great Targaryen king I am. Powerless over mine own daughter of 7 and 10.
King
Most people
Jaehaerys
are.
ruled over half a century of peace while his children drove him to the edge of madness. His daughters in particular. It is tradition, Your Grace.
It is the way of the daughters.
The breach between your houses has not narrowed since I last spoke of it. It would do much to assuage Lord Corlys of any slights, real or imagined.
Yeah.
We must pray, of course, that Laenor survives the fighting in the Stepstones.
Though while he's not drunk off his ass.
Well, maybe they're trying to get him to make a drunk decision.
Well, that could be.
'Cause if he makes a
But
promise,
he
he's
seemed
still
to at
the
least
king.
make some sense when he advises him.
Princess, I must make a final plea that we
I
return.
don't
to
always
the
agree with him, but he makes sense.
Rob the phone here.
His Grace is certain to be worried by your absence.
His Grace could worry himself to death if he said lies. Tell me something, Sir Kristen. Do you think the realm will ever accept me as their queen?
Yep. Daddy didn't prepare them for it enough.
I have no choice but to, Princess.
That doesn't sound very. I have no choice but to. That's what she needed, something to get that anger out.
Just needed to murder something.
It didn't have to be murder. They should have been, like, giving her some kind of outlet in the first place.
I think she preferred murder.
Yeah?
Yeah!
Oh, what a great warrior.
You hunted that down all by himself.
So
It's her
strong
spear,
and
right?
agile.
Yeah, through a spear. Yep. She went hunting.
Oh god, look at that blood.
I mean, she did get it all over her.
She did.
Surprised it's only that much.
Yeah. I'm
But she
surprised she
didn't
didn't go and clean it
force
off.
her to a hunt. It was just more of her being hunted.
Is that the one that they were looking for?
Maybe.
She's looking a little bit like Daenerys there. Bye-bye. That's right, run away. Dude, you just look creepy. Stop it.
How are you feeling, husband?
The gods have punished me for my indulgences.
As
At
they
least the
should.
wine was good.
Too good. I do not think she enjoyed Jason Lannister's company. She is cross.
Do you blame
I
her?
warned you that she would be.
Rhaenyra has come of age. She must needs marry a High Lord who will honor her, defend her, and serve her as king consort. Her wishes in
defend
this
herself.
matter are irrelevant.
I do believe that Rhaenyra will marry your grace. But she must believe it is her choice to do so.
Yeah.
If I now provide Daemon and Corlys succor, what will that say of their king?
Perhaps that he is
That
a
you
good man
support
who
them?
loves his brother.
Well, if you truly believe that, my dear, then you possess a generous spirit.
There's nothing
What do
fucking
you
wrong
believe,
with that.
Viserys?
If it was for advantage, you would have wed Lena Velaryon.
That is true enough. You must marry. Strengthen your own claim. Shore up your succession. Multiply. As to your match,
What is she, a freaking cell?
make it yourself. Search him out. Find one that pleases you, as I did.
The ones that please her are not, pleasing to the rules of the realm.
Rhaenyra,
Show the kingdom that she's worthwhile.
By getting married, she's gonna stake her claim by proving that she has what it takes.
Keeping her sidelined all the time doesn't show the kingdom anything.
Which man here will happily go to his death? Show me the knight who will march into that helping nephew, and I will show you a madman.
Daemon.
Daemon is why we are losing.
He at least is fighting this war. What role have you played in this council, uncle, other than master of complaints?
Enough, Leno. If King's Landing will not support Daemon.
It's very tired.
know that it is not my desire to see you fail in your cause. It is instead my hope that this aid will deliver the victory that has thus far evaded us. I shall pray nightly to the gods for your safe return.
Instead, he beat up your messenger.
Went out there as Ben, went out there as Bobby.
Or he's just gonna go to the cave and kill himself.
He could do that too.
It would make sense.
Plausible giving him. It's probably a good decision of theirs not to trust him.
Yeah, I think he didn't like his brother insinuating that he was losing.
He was losing, but he didn't like it.
Yeah.
Just needed some motivation.
Yep.
Like, you know what you could get is an imputation.
Oh my god. He is looking bad.
Yeah, he got a lot bloodier. He went in there, he had like a mark. When he comes out, he's like bathed in it.
Oh, that's what happens when you cut off a quarter.
Cut off? Like cut up?
A quarter of a person, 3/4 of a person.
His arm, his chest, part of
Wow.
his chest. And his head.
All right, everyone. That was House of the Dragon. When it comes to the crab feeder, I would really like a backstory. I might have heard it in the Fire and Blood book, but I right now I have gone back to a point in the book where Maegor was taking over, because I'm trying to remember that better. I may need to actually go catch up. I may need to catch up to this point and try to relearn a little more. I don't remember if they talked a lot about the crab feeder. I know we got some general information, but I think they may have given us more detailed stuff, so I do want to go back and get more information about the crab feeder. We got to see at least one more dragon. I don't recall if there were any more dragons. Do any of you remember if there was another dragon? It looks like at this point they've jumped 3 years, I think is what they were saying. And Viserys to me looks a lot older. It looks like they've aged him considerably, maybe more than 3 years worth. But then again, if you think about like how much a president ages, even if he's just in one term for 4 years, like a lot of presidents come in at the beginning and their hair is like full color and they're looking pretty decent, and by the end of that 4-year term their hair has gone gray and they are looking much older, because you know that's like a really stressful position. So I am thinking that maybe they're just showing that this guy has been in this very, very stressful position, and maybe that is why he is actually being presented as looking so much older now, that they're just showing that the stress of reigning over the kingdom is just like really aging him quickly. But we also see later on in the show that he is really not looking very. And in that 3-year time jump, we also see that Viserys now has a 2-year-old child, Aegon, and has another child on the way that we don't know the name or sex of yet, unless you've read the book. After we get past the crab feeder section, we see that that baby Aegon is having his second name day celebration, basically like our birthdays. So Aegon has, I'm assuming actually, I haven't like gone through the cultural history of this fictional world, but I'm assuming the name day is actually like the year after they were named, because we know that sometimes when a baby is born, they may or may not have been given a name when they were born. Sometimes they are given their name a little bit later. Sometimes they're given their name a little earlier, but I don't think we're going to go by like before they're born. But I would assume at least the point after they were born that they get conferred their actual name. All these people in the kingdom are there to see baby Aegon and to celebrate his name day celebration, but Viserys is stressfully looking around for Rhaenyra and can't find Rhaenyra, and is getting very, very frustrated that Rhaenyra is not there and not around. I think if you've watched a few period pieces and pieces dealing with royalty, there has to be frequently a big focus and concentration on the imagery that the family is presenting. And this probably does not look very good to the rest of the realm, especially to the leaders in the realm. But we see that Rhaenyra has absented herself, pretty much hiding herself in books to get away from the celebration. Then we see Alicent come out to try to encourage Rhaenyra to come and join the celebration. That Viserys would really like them all to be together in the celebration, you know, because that's family, that's tradition. It looks good, but it also is. It also tends to be nicer when you have everybody in your family there, especially the people that are very important to you. And in this situation, Rhaenyra is the heir, so that's very important as well. But things between Rhaenyra and Alicent, I think, are very awkward and uncomfortable right now. I would assume that Rhaenyra probably feels like her best friend stabbed her in the back by marrying her dad and having kids with her dad. And then her having kids with her dad also causes this whole other conflict where her half-brothers can literally take her place. They can literally be given her title as heir to the throne. They can steal her title as heir to the throne. And I think Targaryens, if you have read the books, you can see that they have found ways to deal with some of these conflicts that they have, where their traditions are very different from the traditions of most of the Westerosi people. Sometimes they deal with those things well, sometimes they don't, but there are multiple positions that those traditions clashed, and somehow the Targaryens that were in charge, the parents, found ways to make those things work. Sometimes they didn't work, but sometimes they did. And I would have liked to have seen a lot more of Viserys really using his brain and trying to find ways to actually instill this into the kingdom, into the leadership within the kingdom, into his council, that this is not going to change, that I did not make Rhaenyra an heir to the throne on a whim, that this is staying the same, and that you need to be okay with it. You need to deal with it. And not dealing with it will result in retribution, because he really has not done anything to instill that position, to instill those views and that idea. The kingdom isn't even, like, they're not even proposing that as an option. They're automatically, almost all of them are automatically assuming he's got this young child who is still alive, who is a male, and that male should obviously be made heir to the throne, since the Westerosi people believe that a male should rise to the throne before a female. But this isn't how Targaryens have traditionally ruled, and this isn't how Viserys feels. He just doesn't do anything really to instill that in the kingdom and to instill it into his council and to the people that are leading and following. So I think that causes just a real considerable amount of conflict. I think it's going to cause a lot of problems later on in the kingdom, but it's causing a lot of conflict right now between him and his daughter, because his daughter feels sidelined. And I think the other thing, when it comes to him instilling this stuff, the other thing he should be doing is ensuring that his daughter is being put into positions that make her look powerful, that make her look like she is worthy of ruling over Westeros, and that's not really happening. And I don't believe for a second that Rhaenyra is not capable of handling really strong positions and making herself really look worthy of those positions. I will give you one big spoiler about Fire and Blood, but this is from previous history. The previous Queen Alysanne, Queen Alysanne, Jaehaerys, the king that was right before Viserys, Queen Alysanne was a female, and she wasn't ruling over the kingdom, but she was put in a position where she actually married her brother, which was very much against the religious people in Westeros. And somehow Jaehaerys made sure that he was able to kind of finagle politics and finagle the people within the kingdom to get an agreement that even though the religious in Westerosi do not agree with brothers and sisters being together or marrying each other, that they would look upon this differently because they are Targaryens. They are a different race that come from a different land, who have different traditions and culture, and who are dragon riders. And I'm not going to go further into it than that, but that, to me, that is an example of how you can take something that will be really, really hard for the Westerosi people to swallow and adjust things, adjust their views enough, and mess with the political realm enough to get the people that are in leadership and the people that they need to follow them to better understand that, to better understand these very, very different traditions and cultures that they don't agree with, and to at least be willing to put up with them. One of the conflicts that occurs, of course, in this episode, which we see multiple scenes in here where this becomes an obvious problem, where the king is getting multiple requests for marriage to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra is a teenage girl, and she is not wanting anything to do with that. And in this particular episode, we see is it Jason Lannister trying to hit on her, like so obviously trying to hit on her, and she had it dead on that he is just so freaking arrogant. Like, I don't remember exactly what her statement was about pride, about his pride, but it was funny. It was funny. But either way, she does not appreciate his advances. She doesn't appreciate his arrogance. And then when she goes and confronts her father about it, he actually turns it around on her and says, yeah, he's prideful and arrogant. I thought that was something that you two might like really get along with each other because of, which, yeah, I think that really stung. And I think sometimes we assume that people will like obviously get along really well together because they're so similar, but there are situations like that. A person that is arrogant and prideful, I think often is not going to get along very well with somebody else who's arrogant and prideful. They might in like little side situations, they might in a kind of topical way, in a very shallow way, but when it comes down to the deep down stuff, I think that those seemingly similar behaviors actually clash because they both are prideful of themselves, and and letting somebody else in that is really prideful like that, especially if they're more prideful than you, that can be very, very difficult. So, yeah, I think Daddy was Daddy was really reaching there, or Daddy was just trying to be spiteful. Either way, she was not having it. And honestly, it's just another little stab that I think makes her feel more sidelined. Like, seriously, this is what you think of me. As the episode goes on, we see more and more of this question as to the heir, as to is Viserys going to, since Aegon has reached his second name day, is Viserys going to transition the heir from Rhaenyra to Aegon? And people begin asking, they begin suggesting openly to the king, which the king does not take kindly to. And that just kind of engulfs a lot of this episode, this whole question of are you going to make Aegon heir? Because Westerosi is expecting it. Even your daughter's expecting it, not because she wants it, she doesn't want it at all, but that's what she's expecting to happen, and that is making her feel even more sidelined and stabbed in the back. It's like, why did you name me heir in the first place? You're naming me heir in name only and giving me no power and giving me no position to solidify my position as heir. And then his suggestion was to marry to strengthen her line. But that, again, that puts power in the hand of the man and not really her. That ensures that this man is going to rise in power. But then what happens? Then a lot of times the female ends up foreshadowed by the male, even if she is doing the right thing, even if she is being a quality queen, she's often not going to be taken seriously, just like in the previous episode during their council meetings when the council was not taking her seriously, even though she was giving very sage advice. And it was kind of funny, a little bit later on when King Viserys was talking to, I think it's Lord Strong, and he was giving him suggestions, but then he was talking, Viserys was talking about how he has no control over his daughter and how, he's this obviously weak, inept king because he has no control over his teenage daughter. And Lord Strong is like, this is a typical problem. Like, even King Jaehaerys, who was so loved and considered such a good king, his children drove him damn near to madness because it was so hard for him to deal with them. And I think that is a reality. Not for everyone. Sure, there are some families where the teenage years are just peachy and great, but for the majority of us, even the good kids go through this period in their teen years. Their hormones are going crazy. They are growing up, trying to gain independence, but they're not quite there. And that clash of trying to gain independence, not really being independent, certain people trying to give them independence while other people are trying to lock them down, and your hormones going crazy just kind of contributes to this chaotic, out of control, difficult to handle behavior, even for some of the best of children. So So yeah, sorry Viserys, but this isn't because you're an inept king, although I might call you that. This is because this is how it is to raise teenage kids. They're hard. Teenage girls especially, I would say teenage boys especially also. But my kids tend to be more on, not on the masculine side, and so I don't have as much experience, if that's how I want to put it. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, because my experience has been, even my trans male kid just is more effeminate than a lot of the guys I know, and not the most masculine person. And my trans non-binary kid, they have always been pretty effeminate and pretty, like, soft-spoken, shy. So yeah. But either way, it's freaking difficult. It's a hard thing. And I'm probably going to take out the trans stuff because I don't want to be outing my kids too much, even though I do sometimes. Anyway. But yeah, sorry King Viserys. This is just the realm of the teenagers. They can be chaotic and out of control, and a lot of parents struggle to understand them, to control them, to create teenagers that are fairly self-disciplined. It's not an easy thing. It's difficult. And it's difficult for them too. I think we should remember that. Yes, it's very, very hard to parent teenagers. But it's also very, very hard to be a teenager. Now, of course, after the big argument that Viserys and Rhaenyra have in front of the entire kingdom, where she does not want to be pawned off to some arrogant princeling over in the freaking Lannister family. She does not want to be pimped out. She does not want to be made to feel like she's less than because she has to depend on being married to some strong man when she already is capable of taking care of herself most of the time and is already a fairly strong person. But either way, that just sets her off. And I know how I have felt after some arguments like that with family members, where I just get so frustrated and I want them to see my point of view, and it feels like they just won't or can't or refuse to. And sometimes you have to take a step out. You have to step out and go take a freaking walk or a ride or whatever. I remember when I was in the military in Korea, I used to get very stressed out with some of the situations, and I would actually just take off and go to the park, and I would get on the swings. Swings were like my release from some of the frustration and stress and anxiety that I was dealing with when I was stationed in Korea. But now I'm not in Korea, and I don't usually go to the playground. The playground is a good long walk away, and I don't feel like walking that far usually. I have done it before. But I will say that there was this one time that we had somebody living with us for a while that intentionally would push my buttons and intentionally make me angry. And I remember getting so perturbed with him one day. I walked out of the house, I slammed the door behind me, and I walked all the way to that playground. I got on the swings. I stayed there for a good half hour or more. I was very, very frustrated and very upset. But like I said, that was my way of just releasing some of that anger and tension. And so for Rhaenyra, she takes off on the horse like a bat out of hell. And of course, Sir Criston Cole sees this and is freaking out, very, very worried, and goes chasing after her. And oh my God, when they were approaching that little lake, that little teeny lake area there, and the horses were coming up to there, and he's trying to grab onto the other horse and trying to stop Rhaenyra on her horse. Oh my God, I really thought they were going to have an accident because of him doing that. I know it wouldn't really be his fault. He's trying to help, but there's just so many situations like that. Stop. But there's just so many situations like that where you could, while you're intending to do the right thing and stop something bad from happening, where you could actually cause something really bad to happen. And I was really worried that was going to happen. It didn't. Thank goodness. Very glad of that. And I'm glad to see a little bit of this relationship growing between Rhaenyra and Sir Criston Cole. But they finally get stopped. No accident happens, at least not at that point. And he asks her, so what happened there? What happened to set you off like that? And she says, my father, and explains that he's trying to pimp her out or sell her out, I think is how she put it, sell her out to this Lannister prince who's an arrogant asshole. That's not exactly how she put it, but that's how I'm thinking of him. And Sir Criston Cole looks at her and says, shall I kill him? And I'm just like, oh my God, that is a freaking beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. And she laughs about it too, so that was good. Shall I kill him? But anyway, she explains her situation and how frustrating it is, and he explains that, there's a lot of people that would really give anything to be in her position. But like I said, and like she said, basically, that they don't understand, like, exactly what they would be getting in return to have her position, even though she is in one of the highest positions in the kingdom, even though she has massive amounts of privilege compared to everyone else in the kingdom. It comes with a ton of stress, a ton of worrying, and a ton of trying to put on these airs and roles for everyone around you, which can be very stressful all in itself. So yeah, I get where she's coming from. Yeah, there's lots of people that would want to be in her position, but if they were in her position, I think they'd be every bit as stressed out and every bit as frustrated in her position as she is. So, all right. Well, anyway, later on, we see that they have this attack from a boar, and between the two of them, between Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra, they demolished that boar. First Kristen Cole got him, and then Rhaenyra just went to town. She was so bloody at the end, and goodness gracious, but like I said, she needed that outlet. Like really, they should have been giving her something long before this for her to get that in. Like, you see, Viserys sees that she is a very, very angry person. Well, she's angry for a reason. It's not like she started out that way. So give her an outlet so she can get rid of some of that anger, so she has an outlet for all of that stress and anger and frustration. It's not going to get rid of all of it, but it can help so that she doesn't have to feel like she's going to explode like that. And towards the end, we get back to the Stepstones, where the Triarchy is at war with Daemon and Corlys Valerian's army, which sounds like it's mostly the Valerian family and Daemon. And when you see Daemon, like, they're arguing over what to do. They're running out of supplies. They're frustrated because they seem to be doing well, but then as soon as the dragons come out, the people just retreat into the caves, so they are not able to, like, get further. They're not able to advance, and they're not able to get to where they can actually defeat these people. So they're frustrated. And then when you see Daemon, oh my God, Daemon looks so, like, tired, exhausted, like, just done with this. Like, so done. And then he gets the message from his brother saying that he's sending aid, but the wording is in such a way that I think Daemon is taking it as, you're calling me a failure. You're telling me that I'm failing, and therefore you have to send aid in order for me not to fail. And even though it kind of sucks that he saw it that way, it kind of sucks to feel that way, it gave him the motivation he needed to get this thing done, to actually go in there and do what the Valerians were suggesting. The family was suggesting they needed somebody to be used as bait to draw all these people far enough out of the caves that they can actually fight with them and defeat them. And that does work. Daemon ends up motivated enough that he's like, I'm done, and he pretends he's going to surrender, which I have to say that when I saw him going out there with the white flag, I was so confused. I was like, this isn't what's in the book. I don't remember exactly, but I from what I remember, I'm going to try to catch up, like I said, but from what I remember, when they get to the part with the crab feeder, they're not doing terrible, and they said that the king had actually been sending finances and resources repeatedly. So seeing it being presented as they're doing terribly and the king is trying not to send any help at all at first because he's afraid that, you know, it'll send the wrong message to the kingdom, and then he finally does send help, and then to see Daemon bring out a white flag, I'm like, that's not what I remember. I remember they weren't doing that terribly, but then when they really needed to get it done, he did go into the caves and kill off this guy, I think pretty easily. I might be remembering it wrong, but yeah, it definitely caused me a serious amount of confusion until I finally realized that hey, maybe this white flag is a total fake out, and he's just pretending to surrender so that he can get them out there. And that's exactly what it was. And then he goes into the caves, like the books say, and he kills that guy pretty easily. And I felt bad for him. Like, you can see he was burned alive. I've had burns on me. Not nearly like that. But I'm telling you, they hurt. They get irritated and itchy. And then you scratch them, which makes it worse. Like, there's so many issues with the freaking pain, the irritation, the itchiness, the cracking, the bleeding, all of it. It's really, really awful. And to have, like, almost your whole body like that is way worse. So I really felt bad for him, and I felt like at least now he's dead, so he doesn't have to live with that anymore. Now I know some people don't see life that way, but I do. If your life is to a point where you're in so much pain and so much misery, sometimes I do think maybe it's a little bit better to pass on than to continue living like that. Right, and there may have been some more that I had thought about talking about, but I have to get going. I've got to go and pick up my youngest kid from school. I hope to see you next week when episode 4 comes out and we can enjoy more of this fabulous, terrifying journey. Bye.